A child stumbled upon a German shepherd trapped within a wall, and what unfolded next moved everyone to tears. The tale you are about to hear will transform your perception of children in ways you never imagined. It's a story so astonishing yet real that it reverberated throughout the nation. If you believe you've heard it all, brace yourself for an experience that will challenge everything you thought you understood about the bond between humans and animals. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and tell us where you're tuning in from. The whispers began on a Tuesday with a 5-year-old. Jack Carter jolted awake in his bed, his small hands gripping the dinosaur-printed blanket tightly. The digital clock on his nightstand flickered to 32 a.m., its red glow the sole illumination in the otherwise dark room. Something had stirred him, a sound so subtle that others might have brushed it off as mere wind or a trick of the mind, but Jack was different from most. His eyes, wide and searching, scanned the shadows of his bedroom in the old Victorian house his parents had purchased just 3 weeks ago. The whimpering came again, a soft, desperate cry that seemed to seep through the plaster of his bedroom wall. "Hello," Jack whispered, his voice small in the darkness. The crying paused briefly before continuing, somehow sounding even more desperate than before. Jack's small feet hit the cold wooden floor as he slid out of bed. The sound was pulling him forward like an invisible thread. He pressed his ear against the wall, his heart racing as the whimpering grew clearer. It wasn't human, that much he knew. It sounded like a dog, he whispered to himself, his breath fogging slightly on the cool surface of the wall. "You're stuck, aren't you?" The whimpering seemed to respond, as if acknowledging his question. Jack's hand glided over the wallpaper, searching for any cracks or openings, but found none. He frowned. "I'll help you," he promised the unseen creature. "I won't leave you alone." Morning light poured into the kitchen, illuminating Lily Carter as she flipped pancakes, while her husband John filled matching mugs with coffee. Their discussion regarding weekend renovation plans came to a sudden stop as Jack appeared in the doorway, still clad in his pajamas, dark circles shadowing his usually bright eyes. "Darling, did you not rest well?" Lily inquired right away, her worrying evident, as she noticed her son's unusually messy look. Jack ascended onto a kitchen chair, his face solemn. "There's a dog crying in my wall," he stated. John chuckled, ruffling Jack's already messy hair. "Buddy, that was probably just the house settling. These old places make all kinds of weird noises." "No," Jack asserted, his voice more powerful than his parents had ever heard. "It's a real dog. She's scared and can't get out." Lily set a small stack of pancakes before her son. "Sweetie, there can't be a dog inside the walls." "That's impossible. She's there," Jack said, disregarding the food. "I talked to her all night. She needs water. She's really thirsty." John and Lily shared anxious looks, having observed Jack's inclination for vivid dreams since their arrival at the old house. However, this felt different, more intense. "How about this?" John suggested after breakfast. "I'll come up and we can listen together. It could just be the pipes or the neighbor's dog you're hearing." Jack nodded with hesitation, barely grazing his breakfast as his thoughts wandered. He was preoccupied with the terrified being he believed was ensnared within the confines of their house. True to his promise, John trailed Jack upstairs after they finished eating. They lingered in silence in Jack's room for almost 10 minutes. John's patience was dwindling as he strained to catch any unusual sounds. "Look, buddy, there's no dog here. This place is just old." Jack raised his hand, his expression shifting to one of keen awareness. "Listen." John focused, straining to catch any sound, but all he could discern was the faint hum of a lawnmower from somewhere down the street. "I don't hear anything." Jack the boy's face twisted a bit. "She sheds tears occasionally, but I assure you, she's present." John let out a deep breath, kneeling to meet his son's gaze. "Jack, you know, sometimes our minds can be a bit tricky, especially when we're in a new house filled with unfamiliar sounds. There's no dog in the wall, son." Jack's eyes brimmed with tears. "It's not that I doubt you, it's just that you don't seem to trust me." John started searching for the perfect expression. "It's simply that what you're describing isn't feasible." Yet, Jack was certain of what he had heard, and he understood that no one else would come to the dog's aid that afternoon. While his mother busied herself with folding laundry downstairs, Jack quietly took a bowl of water and some crackers into his room. He set them down near the wall from which the sounds had emanated. "I brought you something," he whispered to the wall. "I don't know if you can reach it, but I'm trying." He leaned his ear against the wall once more, time slipping away in silence until, at last, he caught the sound. The softest whimper somehow conveying appreciation. "I understand," Jack murmured. I will discover a way to free you, I promise. During dinner that evening, Jack sat in silence, moving his pasta around his plate without consuming much. Was everything all right at kindergarten today? Lily, worried by her usually talkative son's quietness, looked at Jack, who nodded but then paused. Miss Jenkins inquired about the drawing of a dog on the walls of their home. John nearly choked on his water. You drew what I drew. The dog that's in our wall, Jack explained matter-of-factly. Miss Jenkins said it wasn't nice to make up stories, but I'm not making it up. Lily leaned over the table, her hand brushing against Jack's forehead. Are you feeling all right, sweetie? No fever. I'm not sick, he replied. Jack's voice was thick with frustration as he demanded, why won't anyone believe me? Because, honey. John spoke softly. Dogs don't belong confined within walls. It's simply not feasible. Yet, this one does, Jack asserted with conviction, sensing her fear. That night, after his parents had tucked him in, Jack remained awake, waiting for the sound of their bedroom door to close before slipping out of bed once more. The whimpering had diminished, which troubled him more than the louder cries from the night before. Don't give up, he whispered urgently to the wall. I'm going to help you, just hold on. As the days went by, Jack's fixation on the dog in the wall grew stronger, much to the intrigue of his kindergarten teacher. Miss Jenkins reached out to Lily to voice her worries after Jack dedicated an entire art session to crafting increasingly intricate drawings of a German shepherd ensnared in darkness, encircled by what seemed to be concrete. Has Jack faced any trauma lately, Ms. Jenkins inquired with care, perhaps considering the loss of a pet. No, nothing like that, Lily responded, her gaze fixed on the classroom window where Jack sat alone, sketching yet another picture while the other children played together. We just moved into an old house, and he's convinced there's a dog trapped in his bedroom wall. We've explained that it's impossible, but he won't let it go, Ms. Jenkins paused, recognizing that children sometimes weave intricate fantasies to cope with change. The move might be more challenging for him than it seemed. Maybe, Lily agreed, though something about the explanation felt off. Jack had been thrilled about the move, about having a bigger yard and his own room. This obsession seemed to arise out of nowhere. There is one other thing. Miss Jenkins added that Jack mentioned he just knows things sometimes. When I asked what he meant, he said he knew when you were going to call before the phone rang and that he told his father to take an umbrella to work last Thursday, even though the forecast was clear. Lily felt a chill run down her spine. There was an unexpected storm that day, and John got soaked because he didn't listen to Jack. The teacher nodded thoughtfully. Children possess a remarkable intuition. Rather than outright dismissing his concerns, it may be worthwhile to explore what is behind this particular belief, even if it's merely to reassure him during the drive home. Lily found herself unable to shake off the teacher's words. It was indeed true that Jack occasionally appeared to have insights into matters that seemed beyond his years. Subtle details that many would simply attribute to coincidence. The phone calls, the weather predictions, the time. He had woken up in tears over his grandmother's fall, only to receive a call an hour later informing them that she had broken her hip. Could this somehow be connected? The thought lingered uneasily as they returned home. Jack dashed upstairs to his room, calling out to the wall before Lily could catch up. I'm back. Are you okay? I thought about you all day. Lily stood in the doorway, observing her son as he pressed his ear against the wall, his expression a blend of worrying and focus. Jack, honey, she started gently. I want to understand about this dog. Can you tell me more about what you hear? Jack regarded her with a hint of skepticism, as if weighing her true interest against mere politeness. At last, he gestured for her to come closer. Come listen, he murmured, directing her attention to a particular area on the wall. Sometimes she's too weary to cry out, but I can sense her presence here. Lily paused, then knelt beside her son, pressing her ear against the wall. They remained in that position for several minutes, the only sound the steady ticking of Jack's dinosaur clock. Just as she was about to pull away, she sensed a vibration so faint she nearly overlooked it. Not quite a sound, but a tremor, as if something were shifting. Did you feel that? Jack inquired, his eyes bright and filled with anticipation. Lily pulled back, unsettled. I felt something, but Jack insisted it could be anything. Pipes, the house settling. It's her, Jack said. She's running out of time that night. Lily lay awake, restless and unable to find solace in sleep. She wandered into the kitchen at the stroke of midnight, her curiosity piqued as she scoured the internet for details about the house they had bought. The listing had proudly stated its construction in 1897, highlighting the updates made over the years. Yet, it had failed to disclose any history that might shed light on Jack's obsession. Sleep eluded him as well. John shuffled into the kitchen in his pajamas, causing Lily to jump slightly. "I'm just doing some research on childhood hallucinations," he said. John leaned in, his curiosity evident as he glanced over her shoulder at the laptop screen in our home. Lily responded, "I'm beginning to consider that there could be some truth to Jack's words." John sighed, running a hand through his sleep-tousled hair. "Leave, come on, you know there's no dog in the wall." "That's not physically possible. I know it sounds crazy," she admitted, "but today when I listened with him, I felt something of vibration. And you have to admit, Jack has always had these intuitions, these coincidences." John made a correction, though his voice was devoid of certainty. "Remember when he knew about my mom's fall?" Lily pressed on, recalling the storm from last week. "What if he's picking up on something we can't?" John remained silent for a lengthy pause. "So, what have you discovered?" "Not much yet," Lily admitted. "The house was last owned by someone named Edward Morrison, who sold it to the real estate company that flipped it before we bought it. I can't find much about Morrison, though perhaps we could inquire around the neighborhood tomorrow," John proposed, more to placate his wife than out of any genuine conviction. "For now, let's attempt to get some rest." Yet, slumber continued to evade both of them. The following day was Saturday, and Lily took an opportunity for her to meet the neighbors as John took Jack to the park. Mrs. Whitaker, an elderly a woman from 2 doors down, invited Lily in for tea after she mentioned that they had recently moved into the old house. "Morrison Place is truly a beautiful home," Mrs. Whitaker remarked as she poured tea into the delicate china cups. "Delicate china cups, though it stood empty for quite some time after Edward left. Lily asked. "I thought he sold the house." Mrs. Whitaker's expression darkened. "Well, that's the official story, I suppose, but the reality is that no one truly understands what transpired with Edward. He just vanished around 8 months ago." Lily almost spilled her tea. "Disappeared? What do you mean?" "It was quite strange," Mrs. Whitaker continued, appearing relieved to finally share the story. "Edward had always been somewhat of a loner, yet completely harmless. He was a solitary figure, toiling away in the confines of his home, engaged in a digital profession. Then, one day, the neighbors noticed his absence over the weeks, with mail accumulating and no lights illuminating his home. When the police conducted a welfare check, the house stood vacant, devoid of any indication of wrongdoing. Mary forsaken. "It's an unsettling sight, Lily," she said, attempting to maintain a steady tone as Mrs. Whitaker leaned in, the strangest part unfolding. In a conspiratorial manner, he revealed that his dog Edward had adopted a German Shepherd puppy not long ago. The year prior to his disappearance, there was a lovely girl named Luna, if I recall correctly. She'd vanished. Everyone assumed he took her with him wherever he went." Lily's blood ran cold. "Is it cold? A German Shepherd? Are you sure?" Mrs. Whitaker nodded, positive. "I used to see. He walks her beautiful, well-behaved dog in the evenings." "Why do you ask?" "Just curious." Lily managed her thoughts were a whirlwind. She had yet to inform Jack about the type of dog their neighbors had owned. It was only now that she realized she hadn't known herself until this moment. At that moment, he had been sketching a German Shepherd confined within the walls. When Lily came home, she discovered, in the backyard, John and Jack were engaged in a lively game of soccer, kicking the ball back and forth. She chose the perfect moment to act, waiting until Jack became engrossed in his toys before making her move. Pulling John aside to share what she'd learned, she said, "A German Shepherd." John repeated it, his skepticism finally showing. "Cracks, and Jack's been sketching a German Shepherd specifically." Lily nodded. "He's never laid eyes on a photo of the former owner or his dog. How could he possibly know?" "John, how could he know unless there's genuinely something to this?" John appeared troubled after finishing, "But leave, even if the guy owned a dog that. The notion of it being confined within our walls is something I understand." "It seems," Lily cut in, "but what if something occurred? What if this Morrison guy did something to the dog before he disappeared?" John ran a hand over his face. "That's a pretty serious accusation." "I'm not placing blame on anyone," Lily clarified. "I'm merely stating that with the extensive renovations this house underwent prior to our purchase raised the question, could something have been constructed over it?" An unsettling suggestion lingered in the space between them, too troubling to confront. Later that evening, as John was preparing, Jack, as he settled into bed, found himself examining the walls of his son's room with a newfound intensity. He began to reflect on the details more closely than ever before. Curiously, this dog can you share more about it? Jack's eyes sparkled with excitement. At last, she is being acknowledged. She has a robust figure and distinct, pointed ears. Her fur is a mix of brown and black. She is filled with fear and hunger. You hear her? Jack gestured toward the corner of his room, where the outer wall met the dividing wall. The bedroom from the hallway is mostly quiet, but occasionally I catch her voice when I press my ear on the floor too. John nodded, attempting to gather his thoughts in a logical manner about that corner. Had been part of the renovation. The real estate listing had mentioned opening up the floor plan downstairs, which would have required adding support to this section of the house. Has she told you her name? John inquired, instantly feeling a bit silly for asking, but Jack seemed unfazed, responding, She didn't tell me, I just know. It's Luna. John felt a shiver run down his spine. Luna, Jack nodded. I create illustrations of her during school hours, ensuring she understands that I still remember her after that night when Jack fell. Quietly, John tiptoed into his son's room, a stud finder in hand, gliding it along the walls where Jack had pointed out. Discovering nothing out of the ordinary until he arrived at the corner, the device emitted a constant beep over a specific area that there should have been standard spacing. Something felt off with the construction the following morning as Jack, while enjoying breakfast, John casually brought up the need to check something in the basement, which had been. Another appealing feature of the house is its unusually large size for the area, complemented by high ceilings and newly finished walls. With a flashlight in hand, John descended the stairs, attempting to orient himself in relation to Jack's bedroom situated above in the corner. There was a section of wall that appeared newer than the surrounding areas, the paint subtly differing in color. John approached it slowly, his hand gliding over the surface. Then, he noticed something peculiar, a small air vent nearby. The floor appeared disconnected from everything around it. Crouching down, he illuminated the space with his flashlight, peering through the slats he saw nothing but darkness, and just as despair began to settle in, his flashlight illuminated a glimmer reflection, a hint of light. As he bounced off something metallic, John shifted his stance, seeking a more advantageous angle. It was then that he heard it, so subtle that if he hadn't been attuned to it, he might have overlooked it completely. A soft whimper, succeeded by what seemed like. With labored breathing, John stumbled backward, nearly dropping his flashlight. Oh my God, he whispered to the emptiness around him. In the basement, Jack was right. As construction workers undertook the renovation for the real estate company, they stumbled upon something intriguing concealed within a crawl space, a trove of journals authored by Edward Morrison. The former owner had originally designated them as personal belongings to be returned, but one of the workers had turned them over. Out of curiosity, I explored a journal and found myself unsettled by its contents instead of simply dismissing them. Officials who may have postponed the renovation and their salaries concealed the journals in the attic, revealing they planned to report it anonymously later, but like so many intentions set for the future, it faded from memory completely. Until now, Lily stood in the dusty attic, a flashlight clenched between her teeth, as she cautiously opened the journal she had discovered hidden behind an old trunk, while John was downstairs entertaining Jack. Upon further investigation, the initial entries revealed a collection of ordinary work grievances, observations about the weather, and sporadic references about attending therapy for anxiety and intrusive thoughts. Lily turned the page. Forward through the pages the writing became increasingly erratic, paranoid passages about being watched and there. As she listened, a troubling realization began to surface with increasing intensity. Lily understood that her thoughts were becoming more pronounced. One entry read about Luna Morrison's German Shepherd, who stares at me while I sleep. Her gaze tracks my every move. She understands my thoughts. They've conditioned her to decipher my mind and relay the fantasies. Seemed to deteriorate as Morrison grew increasingly convinced that his dog was a device for monitoring implanted by unnamed government agencies. He described obstructing her signal by confining her in the basement, away from windows where she was capable of transmitting data. The last entries were particularly unsettling. I can hear her transmitting even through the walls. I've exhausted every option to shut it out, but nothing seems effective. There's only one solution remaining. The next page, which elaborates on Morrison's. He intended to permanently secure the surveillance unit by constructing a deceptive wall in the basement. having meticulously calculated the airflow. Flow indicating that a small vent would supply just the right amount of oxygen to maintain the unit's operation, yet insufficient to transmit signals. Lily closed the journal with trembling hands, feeling a wave of nausea. This wasn't merely a sorrowful moment. In the instance of a vanished canine, it revealed the unsettling psyche behind a dreadful act. She quickly gathered the journals and hurried downstairs, discovering John in the kitchen preparing lunch while Jack was busy coloring. "We need to talk," she whispered urgently, gesturing toward the back door. Once outside, she revealed to John what she had discovered. Observe his expression lose all hue as he quickly glanced through the entries. "This is Jesus," John muttered, running a hand through his hair. This guy was seriously mentally ill. And if what he wrote is true, Lily continued, her voice quivering, then Luna is precisely where Jack claimed she is, ensnared within a wall. "In our basement, John, she could still be alive." John shook his head in disbelief. "That's impossible," he said. "It occurred months ago. No creature could endure that duration without sustenance and hydration." "The vent," Lily insisted. "You mentioned it was there." "There was a vent. Perhaps rainwater seeps in somehow. Maybe she discovered a means to survive. I can't say for sure, but Jack is convinced. She is alive, and all that he has known has proven to be true." They exchanged glances, the full weight of the moment settling between them. The weight of the situation settled in. "I'll get my tools," John finally said. "If there's even a chance." "What about Jack?" Lily inquired whether we should keep him at a distance, just in case she was unable to complete her thought. However, John was aware that what they discovered might be too unsettling for a 5-year-old to witness, just in case Jack had. It was a mistake, and all they found were remnants. "I'll reach out to my sister." John chose to ask her to take him for a little while. Hours later, we would inform him that we were handling some house repairs, but when they returned inside, Jack was already standing in the kitchen. In the doorway, his eyes were wide and urgent. "You found the bad man's books," he said, not a. It started as a question, but now it feels like a statement. "You believe me about Luna?" Lily and John exchanged startled glances. "Jack, honey." Lily started to consider the situation thoughtfully. She suggested that it might be wise for you to visit Aunt Sarah's for a while. A brief moment, Jack's shout startled them both. "I need to be here. Luna's waiting for me. I promised I'd help her." Buddy John crouched down to his son's level. "If the dog is there, she might be. She may not be in the best condition, and we can't be certain that she's still alive," Jack insisted, tears welling in his eyes. "Yet, she won't last much longer. She's truly exhausted now. She doesn't cry as often anymore." The assurance in his voice was chilling. "Please," Jack begged. "Please let me help her," I promised. After a prolonged moment of unspoken understanding passed between them, Lily gave a subtle nod to John, and he, albeit with some hesitation, acquiesced. "However, you need to remain here while I examine the wall." "Understood. And if I ask you to head upstairs with Mom, you will do so without any objections." Jack nodded solemnly, relief washing over his features. "Thank you, Daddy," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. They made their way down to the basement, John with his toolbox in hand and Lily grasping Jack's hand. Upon reaching in the section of the wall under scrutiny, John directed Jack and Lily to step back. "This is where she is," Jack remarked. With assurance, John gestured towards a particular area of the wall close to the small vent, nodding as he placed his tools down. "Let's take a moment to listen," he proposed, eager to ensure he had all the facts before he began dismantling their home, starting with the basement. Fell silent as all three focused intently, straining to catch any sound from within the wall. Seconds ticked by, stretching into an eternity. Just as John was about to propose a reconsideration, Jack suddenly freed himself from Lily's hold and hurried to the wall, placing his small hand upon it. "Luna," he whispered gently, his voice quivering with feeling. I'm here to help you. Please make a sound so my daddy knows you're real." Another long silence followed as Lily moved to pull Jack away, an apology already forming on her lips, when they all heard a faint scratching sound followed by the faintest whimper imaginable. John's doubt vanished in an instant. He seized his hammer with a surge of urgency. "Stand back, both of you," he commanded, his voice taut with a blend of disbelief and resolve. "I'm going to begin with a small hole to see what we're dealing with." As John carefully began removing a section of drywall, Jack observed with unwavering attention, his tiny hands balled into fists. Lily remained standing, with the phone in hand, poised to call for help if necessary. I noticed something, John whispered, his gaze fixed on a glimmering object. With the flashlight illuminating the narrow gap he had made, it was clear there was an unexpected void lurking behind this barrier. He worked with increased urgency, expanding the hole until it measured roughly a foot square. The beam from his flashlight illuminated a chamber roughly built between the original foundation and the newer wall, where in the distant corner there huddled a shape emerged. "Oh my God," John breathed, his voice barely audible, as he took in the matted, filthy sight before him. The soft texture of fur and the gentle rhythm of breathing indicated that Luna was very much alive as John focused on his task. With a surge of urgency, I clawed at the drywall, the gap widening, revealing the chilling reality of what lay beyond. It became evident that Luna wasn't merely confined behind a wall. She had been intentionally sealed within a cramped chamber, barely spacious enough. The space was a confinement, just large enough for her to turn around, a prison where the dog could merely exist but not truly live. "Lily, call a vet now," John commanded, his voice trembling with a blend of shock and fury, but Jack was already in motion. He darted ahead, his small form slipping past his father before either parent could intervene. "Jack, wait," Lily called out, but the boy had already fallen to his knees before the opening. "Luna," he whispered, reaching out his hand toward the frighteningly still form. "I told you I'd find you." The German shepherd's head. Her gaze flickered at the sound of his voice, her eyes hollow and drawn into a gaunt visage, fighting to concentrate as Jack's scent enveloped her, and something remarkable occurred. Her tail, little more than bone cloaked in fur, thumped with excitement. Weakly against the concrete floor. "Be careful, Jack," John cautioned, poised to pull his son back at the first hint of danger. Aggression. A trapped, starving animal could be dangerous, especially around a child. However, Luna exhibited no signs of. Instead of aggression, she made a weak attempt to crawl toward Jack, her frail body shaking with the effort. Jack turned to his parents, tears streaming down his face. "She needs water. She's so thirsty." Lily ran upstairs, returning moments later with a shallow bowl of water. John had successfully enlarged the opening further, but Luna still couldn't fit through, not without risking further injury to her delicate frame. "We need to take down more of the wall." John resolved to grab his tools once more, as the vet was en route. Lily reported, her phone held firmly in her grasp. Her hand, "Dr. Rebecca Martinez mentioned she would arrive in 15 minutes. Jack hadn't shifted from his spot as he had taken the water bowl from his mother and was now holding it for Luna. The dog lapped weakly at the water, her tongue dry and cracked. "Not too much at once," Lily cautioned, recalling a passage she'd encountered regarding refeeding syndrome in instances of starvation. She murmured, "Small sips, honey." Jack nodded, pulling. The bowl tipped slightly as Luna attempted to drink too eagerly. "It's okay," he reassured her. "There's more, I promise." The sound of a car pulling into the driveway shattered the silence. Lily hurried upstairs to welcome the veterinarian inside. As John meticulously worked on taking down sections of the wall, Dr. Martinez, a petite woman with a gentle demeanor, observed closely. With a focused gaze and a straightforward attitude, she trailed Lily down to the basement, skipping any unnecessary small talk. Medical bag gripped firmly in her hand, she searched for answers. Her question faded away as she absorbed the unfolding scene. Half-demolished wall, a skeletal dog peering through the gap, while a small boy murmurs soft reassurances to the animal. "Sweet mercy," she breathed, setting down her bag and kneeling to assess the situation. "How long has she been in there?" "We're not certain," John replied, wiping the sweat from his brow. "At least a couple of months based on when the previous owner vanished," and Dr. Martinez's eyes widened in disbelief. "Months had passed since then. It's inconceivable. No dog could endure such a lengthy period without sustenance or hydration." Lily noted a vent, and "We suspect it's possible that water seeped in during the rainstorms. We discovered journals belonging to the previous owner, who struggled with mental illness. Thought the dog was watching him closely." The vet's demeanor shifted. "I'll need to conduct a thorough examination once we have her," he stated. But I can already say this is among the most shocking instances of animal cruelty I've ever encountered." She turned her attention to Jack, who had not diverted his gaze from Luna. "You must be the one who found her," she said softly. Jack nodded. "I heard her crying in the walls. Nobody believed me at first." "Well, I believe you. You now," Dr. Martinez said, her tone serious. and you've probably saved her life. I'm going to help your dad get her out. Then we'll take good care of her." "Okay," Jack nodded again, albeit reluctantly. Stepping aside to allow the adult's space to focus, Lily wrapped her arm around his shoulders, drawing him in close. "You did it, honey," she whispered. "You really did it." With Dr. Martinez's guidance, John removed sufficient portions of the wall to form an opening ample for Luna to pass through. The vet crafted a makeshift stretcher using a blanket Lily had brought down. "This is where it gets complicated," Dr. Martinez cautioned. Extremely dehydrated and lacking proper nutrition, any abrupt motion could lead to additional injury. "We must guide her out with utmost care." John agreed, ready to assist, while Lily ensured Jack remained at a safe distance. "Distance, Luna," Dr. Martinez called softly, her voice calm and professional. I'm here to assist you," but the dog didn't react to the vet's voice. Instead, her gaze was locked on Jack, as if she were absorbing strength from his very being. All she truly desired was Jack, Lily came to understand. "Trust him." Dr. Martinez hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with involving a child in such a delicate procedure, but after a moment's consideration, she nodded. "Jack, could you take a seat here where she can see you? Talk to her while we work on moving her." Jack instantly wriggled out of his. He positioned himself where the vet indicated, gently reassuring. "It's okay, Luna," his young voice soothing in the moment. Unexpectedly reassuring. "These are good people. They will guide you out of the darkness. You don't have to remain there." No longer frightened, as if grasping every word, Luna's gaze remained fixed on Jack's face. As Dr. Martinez and John gently positioned her onto the blanket, the dog was so frail that she provided no resistance. Her body limp and alarmingly light as they guided her through the opening once Luna was liberated. In the confines of her prison, the full extent of her condition emerged with chilling clarity. Her ribs jutted out starkly beneath her lifeless skin. Her legs resembled little more than sticks, and sores marred the areas of her body that had endured constant strain. Upon contact with the concrete floor, Dr. Martinez immediately commenced a preliminary examination, her skilled hands deftly moving softly over Luna's frail figure. Her heartbeat is faint yet consistent. She documented significant dehydration, inadequate nutrition, pressure ulcers, and potentially some muscle deterioration. Her condition has deteriorated due to confinement. She urgently requires fluids and specialized care. "Is she going to be okay?" Jack asked, his voice small and filled with fear. Dr. Martinez. Her expression softened as she met the boy's anxious gaze. "I won't lie to you, Jack. She's in very bad shape." Yet she endured what seemed insurmountable, proving she's a warrior with a fierce will to survive, Jack remarked. With unwavering conviction, she conveyed her message, prompting the adults to share knowing looks. Yet no one spoke up. She questioned his statement. "My clinic is just 5 minutes away," Dr. Martinez said, returning to her professional demeanor. "I want to get her there as quickly as possible. I have the equipment to provide her with the fluids and care she needs. Can I proceed?" "Come too?" Jack asked immediately. Dr. Martinez glanced at Lily and John. After a brief silent exchange, Lily nodded, indicating that the decision was theirs to make. "We'll all go." Luna might feel more at ease with Jack close by as they gently lifted Luna up the basement stairs and out to Dr. from Martinez's van. A neighbor caught sight of them from across the street, and soon the news traveled fast through the tight-knit community. By evening, it seemed that everyone was in the loop. The dog discovered within the wall of the old Morrison Place Dr. Martinez clinic was small yet well-equipped. A young man named Carlos was waiting for them, having been alerted by phone during the drive to exam room 1. "Is ready," he reported, his eyes widening as he caught sight of Luna's condition. "Oh my God, for fluids, warming blankets, and let's begin the blood work," Dr. Martinez instructed, her voice steady and composed despite the unsettling circumstances. As the medical team attended to Luna, the Carter family sat in the cramped reception area, their anxiety palpable. Jack sat between his parents, unusually still, his eyes fixed on the closed exam room door. "How did you know, Jack?" John finally posed the question that had been nagging at him since the discovery. "How did you know she was there?" Jack shrugged, the gesture feeling strangely out of place. On his small frame, "I heard her. But how did you know her name was Luna?" Lily pressed. "We never mentioned that." "To you?" Jack appeared perplexed by the inquiry. "She mentioned that the dog had conveyed it to you." Her name is John, he clarified, attempting to maintain a neutral tone, not through words, but through his demeanor. It was articulated as if it were the most instinctive thing imaginable. I simply understood it, much like I sense when rain is approaching or, as Grandma prepares to call, Lily and John share anxious looks, while Jack observes. Intuitions had always been peculiar, yet this was an entirely different matter, something beyond their capacity to articulate. Before they could inquire further, the exam room door swung open, and Dr. Martinez stepped out, appearing fatigued yet somewhat relieved. More somber than before, she's stabilized, she declared, taking off her latex gloves. I've started her on for fluids and medication to manage pain and infection. The blood work will provide us with more information, but for the moment, she's managing well. Can I see her? Jack asked without delay. Dr. Martinez paused, contemplating. She appears quite fragile, Jack, and she's linked to some machines that may seem intimidating. Jack assured that fear wouldn't be an issue, and Luna would feel safe with my presence After a moment's thought, Dr. Martinez nodded. All right, but just for a few moments later, she guided Jack into the exam room, with Lily and John trailing closely behind. Luna rested on a treatment table, wrapped in a cozy blanket, and for a line inserted into one of her front legs. The monitoring equipment emitted a steady series of beeps. Close by, monitoring her vital signs, disregarding Dr. Martinez's caution, Jack remained unfazed. With a sense of trepidation, he approached the table, maintaining a calm demeanor as he positioned himself just within Luna's line of sight. Hi Luna, he murmured gently. You're safe now, the doctors are making you better. Luna's tail flicked feebly beneath the blanket, the sole sign of her presence. She was conscious of his presence, and Dr. Martinez observed the interaction with keen interest. It's remarkable, she murmured softly to Lily and John. She reacts to him in a manner she doesn't with anyone else. It's as if there's any kind of connection, he's always had a knack for sensing things, Lily said thoughtfully. But this was unusual. He had insights about Luna that seemed impossible. For instance, the vet inquired about her name, among other things. John mentioned that the journals from the previous owner validated it, but Jack was already aware before we discovered them. Dr. Martinez. Her expression shifted to one of contemplation. I've been a veterinarian for 15 years, she said slowly, and I've witnessed some things that the connections between humans and animals can be elusive and not easily articulated by science, transcending our understanding, she observed Jack as he tenderly caressed Luna's head, the dog's gaze fixed unwaveringly on the boy's face. Regardless of the explanation, she persisted. That connection could be what drives her to keep battling. She should have perished in that moment. Despite all medical reasoning, she defied the odds, surviving far beyond a few weeks without adequate food and water. Yet here she is. What will happen to her now? Lily asked after she recovers. Let's save that discussion for another time, Dr. Martinez replied. For now, let's concentrate on what we need to accomplish. Her over the next 48 hours will be crucial as news circulated regarding Luna's. As evening approached, local media started to converge outside the veterinary clinic, and a small crowd began to gather, filled with concern. Individuals passionate about animals and journalists keen on uncovering the tale of the extraordinary dog. Discovered within a wall, Carlos, the vet's assistant, had been handling calls throughout the afternoon. Channel 7 is eager to conduct a live segment. For their evening news segment, he reported that the Pyville Gazette is dispatching a reporter to Dr. Martinez's side. Running a hand through her hair, she mused, I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. It's not every day a 5-year-old boy discovers a dog entombed within a wall. Must we engage in conversation with them? Lily inquired with worrying. Regarding the idea of putting Jack in the spotlight, Dr. Martinez reassured her, it's entirely up to you. I can manage the media, but they'll be curious about Jack and how he found out. John frowned. That's what I'm wondering as well. They all exchanged glances, heading to the exam room where Jack remained seated next to Luna, appearing unfazed by the escalating noise outside. Speaking softly to the dog, his tiny hand lay delicately on her side. What is he saying? Lily pondered. I don't know, John replied aloud, but whatever it is, Luna seems to. Inside the exam room, Jack was certainly engaged in a dialogue of sorts with Luna, though not through words, at least. Not phrases that would resonate with others, but rather a profound bond that had emerged the instant he first heard her cries through the wall. Everyone wants to know how I found you, he whispered to Luna. I don't know how to explain it. I just heard you when no one else could. Luna's eyes, still sunken, were now more alert thanks to the newfound clarity. Two the four fluids remained fixed on his face. Her tail thumped weakly against the treatment table. Doctor Martinez says you're a warrior, Jack persisted. She remarked that he shouldn't have lasted this long, but deep down, I always believed he would. I knew he was biding his time. To uncover your presence, he leaned in, as if to divulge a secret. I know other things as well, Luna. I know you weren't always here. That while you had a home before you had someone who loved you, but then he fell ill, not ill like a cold, but deeply in his. He was afraid of you, but it wasn't your fault. Luna whispered softly, the sound lingering in the air, hardly perceptible above the rhythmic beeping of the monitoring equipment. I realized, Jack comforted. It was frightening, but you're safe now. Once you feel better, you can come stay with us. I've already spoken to Mama and Dad. They didn't mind. They haven't said yes yet, but I know they will. Outside the clinic, the crowd gathers, continued to expand. News vans had arrived, their satellite dishes reaching toward the sky. Journalists positioned themselves in front of cameras, gesturing towards the modest structure while conveying their stories about 5-year-old Jack. Carter stumbled upon an astonishing find in his family's new residence, as one reporter revealed a German Shepherd thought to be. A boy's determination led to the discovery of someone who had been sealed inside a wall for months, as noted by another reporter. With a dramatic flair, the story unfolds in a case that has perplexed both veterinary experts and local authorities, centering around a dog named Luna, has endured what seemed like an inevitable end. The question lingering in the air, how did young Jack possess such knowledge? She was present as Dr. Martinez came back to assess Luna's vital signs. Her numbers are showing improvement. She mentioned that she adjusted the flow. However, she remains in a precarious situation. The next 24 hours will be critical. It's essential. Can she stay here overnight? Lily asked. Absolutely. I'm planning to. I'll stay with her myself, Doctor Martinez replied. She need constant monitoring. About Jack, John asked softly, nodding toward their son, who was starting to exhibit signs of fatigue after an emotionally draining day. Lily crouched beside Jack and said, Honey, we need to go home now. Luna needs to rest, and so do you. We can return first thing in the morning. Jack's face twisted with concern. But what if she requires my presence at night, Doctor? Martinez will provide exceptional care for her, Lily reassured him. And if there are any changes, she call us right away, I promise. Jack asked the veterinarian directly, and Dr. Martinez said so. With a heavy heart, regardless of the hour, Jack rose to depart, though he hesitated. Before leaning close to Luna one last time, he whispered, I'll be back tomorrow. Keep fighting. As the Carter family, ready to leave, they encountered yet another obstacle as they maneuvered through the throng of reporters and curious onlookers that had assembled. Outside, John muttered, I didn't expect all this, as he peered through the blinds at the media circus. We don't. We need to address them, Lily urged him. We can simply say no comment and keep moving. However, as they exited, Jack caught them off guard as he halted before the cameras, his small face set in seriousness, his voice resonating with clarity and determination. With a straightforward declaration, Luna will improve, she simply requires time. The journalists promptly started, exclaiming inquiries. How did you realize she was behind the wall, Jack? Did you catch her barking? Do you possess some unique? The bond with animals was palpable, yet Jack just kept saying, she's going to get better, as his parents guided him away. As they made their way home in the dimming light, Jack succumbed to sleep in his car seat, worn out from the day's happenings. Lily turned to gaze at her sleeping son, her expression a blend of pride and concern. What do we do now? She pondered. Asked John softly. I don't know, he confessed. This is all beyond anything I never anticipated facing this as a parent. He saved her life, Lily remarked, yet he understood that whatever this was, the bond they share is profound. He rescued her when no one else was able to. John nodded. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. I know, and I'm proud of him. I just wish I understood how he knew. Perhaps understanding isn't necessary, Lily proposed. Maybe we simply need to embrace the fact that Jack possesses a unique talent. As they pulled into the driveway, John let out a sigh, pondering whether it was a gift or something entirely different. Completely that night, as Jack slumbered soundly for the first time since they had settled into the house, Lily and John lay awake, his mind swirling with questions that seemed to have no straightforward answers. If Jack could somehow perceive Luna's presence, what other sensations might he be experiencing that eluded them, and what implications could that hold? Have you ever experienced an inexplicable bond with an animal, a moment when you instinctively understood something profound? They were feeling compelled to share their story. The next 48 hours would prove to be the most critical. In Luna's struggle for survival, Dr. Martinez dedicated himself to closely observing the German Shepherd's condition was monitored continuously. She had cared for countless animals over her career, but none had. Nothing impacted her quite like Luna, whose determination to live challenged all medical reasoning. Her condition, which should have been fatal, was explained to Lily and John when they brought Jack to the clinic the following day. In the morning, the extent of starvation and dehydration she endured was unlike anything I've witnessed. Even Jack had never seen an animal survive such conditions. Hardly uttered a word since awakening, his mind solely fixated on returning to Luna now as they stepped into the treatment room, his expression brightened at the sight of the German Shepherd. Luna appeared to be in slightly better condition. Compared to the day before, the 4 fluids had aided in rehydrating her, causing her sunken eyes to appear slightly more alert when she noticed. The sight of Jack made her tail thump weakly against the treatment table. She had been restless all night, as Dr. Martinez had informed them. She settled down about an hour ago, almost as if she sensed your arrival. Jack nodded, unperturbed. It was clear she had been anticipating this moment. He brought a small chair to the treatment table and climbed up, making sure he was in Luna's line of sight. Him without needing to shift her head, then he just remained seated, one hand softly resting on her slender shoulder, occasionally murmuring words too faint for the grown-ups to catch. Dr. Martinez watched the exchange with increasing curiosity. "I'd like to attempt something," she remarked after a few moments, "a little experiment if you don't mind." When John and Lily nodded their permission, she continued, I need to administer Luna's medication, but she's been quite resistant to being touched. Would you mind stepping out for a moment?" As the parents exited the room, Dr. Martinez readied a syringe filled with pain, and I took a moment to gather my thoughts with Jack by my side. "Luna typically feels anxious when I come near with her medication," she mentioned to Jack. "Can you continue the conversation as I proceed with this?" Jack nodded with a serious expression and moved in closer to Luna. "The physician must provide you with medication to aid in your recovery," he murmured. "It may sting slightly, but soon you'll experience relief. Better, I promise." As Dr. Martinez approached with the syringe, Luna's eyes remained fixed. As the needle broke the surface of her skin, she remained utterly composed, not flinching or making a sound. Her gaze stayed fixed on the boy, unwavering and intense. "Calm despite the discomfort. Remarkable," Dr. Martinez murmured. "Absolutely remarkable." After finishing her examination, she called Lily and John back in. "Luna is responding to treatment better than I expected," she said. "She reported that her blood work still shows significant abnormalities. However, her vital signs are stabilizing." "Does that imply she will get better?" Lily inquired with a glimmer of hope. "It's still too early to make promises," Dr. Martinez warned gently. "Yet, she battles fiercely, and it appears that Jack's presence fuels her resolve. Is it possible for me to spend the day with her?" Jack inquired as soon as the adults shared knowing looks. "You have school, buddy," John reminded him gently. Jack's face fell. "But Luna needs me." "In fact," Dr. Martinez interjected, "Luna does appear to respond. Things improve when Jack is present, her heart rate stabilizes, and she shows a greater willingness to accept treatment, provided it isn't overwhelming. Having him visit after school could actually support her recovery." "I don't mind bringing him," Lily offered. Jack would head to school in the morning with Lily, as a routine was established for the days I could work remotely, collecting him right after and taking him to the clinic where he would spend hours in the company of Luna. John would join them after work, and the family would finally head home once Luna had been settled for the night. As the day progressed, Luna's condition showed signs of improvement. The 4 fluids effectively replenished her hydration, and she slowly started to embrace tiny portions of specific nourishment. Her frame still appeared gaunt, yet her gaze became increasingly aware. She began to respond to basic commands from Dr. Martinez, but only in Jack's presence, as news of Luna's her miraculous survival captured attention that extended well beyond their small town, as animal lovers from all over the country eagerly followed her progress. Online, Dr. Martinez started sharing daily updates, and local news stations began featuring regular segments on them. The incredible bond between the dog and the boy who rescued her led to an outpouring of support, as donations flooded in to cover Luna's medical costs, with the surplus being 5 days after her rescue. Luna made her first attempt to stand, directed towards a fund for other abused animals. Jack occupied his familiar position next to her treatment table when, all at once, she raised her head and met his gaze. He gazed intently at the boy's face. "What is it, girl?" he inquired softly in response. Luna fought to draw her legs beneath her, her limbs quaking with the exertion of her weakened muscles. After months of neglect, Jack called out, "Dr. Martinez," in protest. With a sense of urgency yet calmness, Luna attempted to rise as the veterinarian hurried in, with Lily closely following. They observed intently. Astonishment filled the air as Luna, with excruciating slowness, managed to rise to her feet, her legs shaking uncontrollably, threatening to give way at any moment, yet she stood firm, her gaze fixed on Jack's face. "Good girl," Jack said. Whispered tears streamed down his cheeks. "I knew you could do it." Luna stood for nearly 30 seconds before her. Her strength waned, and she fell back onto the treatment table, yet this milestone was noteworthy, a definitive indication. "Her determination to recover is truly remarkable, Dr. Martinez remarked, swiftly assessing Luna's condition. Vital signs indicate that most dogs in her condition wouldn't even try to stand for weeks. That evening, as news of Luna's achievement spread, the clinic welcomed a visitor. Detective James Wilson from the Pikeville Police Department was the setting for a crucial conversation. "I'm here about the dog case," he explained to Dr. Martinez, also touching upon the mysterious disappearance of Edward. Morrison, after being briefed on Luna's condition, requested to speak with the Carter family. Detective Wilson, "I understand you discovered some journals in your house," he inquired after they had settled into Dr. Martinez's cozy office. Lily nodded. "In the attic. We've already given them to the police." "Yes, I have reviewed them," the detective confirmed. "They paint a disturbing picture of Morrison's mental state, but there are unresolved questions lingered regarding his disappearance." As he shifted his focus to Jack, who remained silent between his parents. "Jack, I realize this may come off as an unusual inquiry, but has Luna mentioned anything to you? Is there any information regarding her owner's fate?" Lily tensed. "Detective, he's just 5 years old. I don't believe that's appropriate." "Mom," Jack interjected, his demeanor grave for someone so young. "Luna doesn't like to discuss the bad man very often, but she understands he won't return." Detective Wilson leaned in a bit. "How does she know that, Jack?" Jack hesitated. Her gaze fell to his hands as she spoke, revealing his remorse for his actions. He wept profusely after he had confined her to the wall. Then one day, he simply vanished and never returned. A chill enveloped the room at the child's words. "Jack," Detective Wilson inquired thoughtfully, "are you aware of Edward Morrison's whereabouts?" Jack raised his gaze, his eyes unnervingly fixed on the spot. In the presence of the towering trees, the very ones where he once strolled with Luna, he chose to embrace eternal rest, a serene expression gracing John's face. "Pilot Jack, how could you possibly know that Luna showed me?" Jack said simply. Detective Wilson jotted down a note in his compact notebook. "There's a wooded area located approximately half a mile from your residence. He mentioned that Morrison was known to walk his dog in that area. We'll organize a team to search it tomorrow after the detective departs." "John." Lily sat in stunned silence, grappling with the weight of what they had just heard. "Couldn't possibly know those details," Lily whispered, "unless he truly is somehow conveying messages to Luna." John completed the concept, yet it remains strange to him despite all that has transpired. Had observed, yet it remains scientifically implausible, with no explanation for it. "This situation has been scientifically possible," Lily pointed out, "Luna surviving months without adequate food or water, Jack listening to her through the walls when we were unaware, knowing her name only after discovering the journals." They both gazed at their son, now back by Luna's side, tenderly stroking her head, utterly unaware of his parents' confusion and concern. "What do we do?" John finally asked. Lily let out a sigh. "I'm not entirely sure, but perhaps it's time to cease the questioning and simply acknowledge that Jack possesses a unique talent, the bond with Luna that eludes our comprehension." The following morning, Detective Wilson reached out to inform them that a human remains were found in the wooded area precisely where Jack had pointed out, and initial evidence indicated suicide, though a full investigation was still underway. How did he know Lily? John inquired, his voice trembling slightly after he hung up the phone. How could he have possibly known where to find Morrison's body? Lily had no answer. She could only watch as her son got ready. As he prepared for school, he packed his lunch while excitedly chatting about taking Luna for walks once she was better behaved. Whirled like an ordinary 5-year-old boy instead of a child with an unexplainable bond to a troubled dog. The tale of Jack's Siri foresight circulated rapidly, weaving an additional thread of intrigue into the already captivating narrative. Journalists stationed outside the veterinary clinic grew increasingly relentless, eager for interviews with the boy who could. "They're calling him the dog whisperer now," Carlos told Dr. Martinez as they seemingly communicated with animals. Ready the clinic for the day. Social media is buzzing with theories. Some are claiming he's psychic. Dr. Martinez frowned. He's a child, not a spectacle. The last thing he requires that level of focus. Yet the whirlwind of media excitement was only starting as Luna persisted in enhancing, achieving minor yet meaningful advancements daily, captivating interest in her narrative and in Jack's enigmatic presence. The abilities only intensified 7 days after Luna's rescue. Dr. Martinez made a suggestion that it took the Carter family by surprise. "I believe Luna may thrive more in a home setting," as she mentioned during their conversation. "During the evening visit, I found her stable enough that I feel confident in releasing her from the clinic, provided she receives the appropriate care and regular checkups." "You mean she could come home with us?" Jack asked, his with eyes shining bright with hope. Dr. Martinez nodded. "Of course, with your parents' consent. She still requires special food, medication, and physical therapy, yet being in a serene and nurturing setting could accelerate her healing." Lily and John exchanged uncertain glances. We exactly discussed adopting a dog," John began cautiously. "Not just any dog," Jack interjected. "Luna, she needs me, darling. It's quite a significant responsibility," Lily explained with a soft touch. "Luna will require considerable attention, and since we both have full-time jobs, I can assist," Jack insisted. "I can sense what she requires. I can recognize when she's in discomfort, when she's in need of water, or when it's time for her to go outside." Martinez observed the family conversation with keen interest. "If it helps," she offered, "I've never witnessed a bond quite like that. In my professional opinion, separating Jack and Luna at this point could be counterproductive." As she embarked on her recovery, John let out a sigh, fully aware that he was outnumbered. "Imagine if we could give it a shot for a while." Jack's face lit up with a brilliant smile. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. You won't regret it, I promise." The next day, preparations were made for Luna's homecoming. John cleared a space in the living room, arranging a cozy dog bed for Luna to relax in while still feeling included. Involvement in family activities led Lily to acquire the special food and supplements that Dr. Martinez had suggested. With barely contained excitement, Jack arranged his stuffed animals around Luna's new bed to ensure she wouldn't feel alone. There was a sense of loneliness as the moment arrived to bring Luna home, with Dr. Martinez providing assistance. They helped her into the back of their SUV, demonstrating how to support her still frail body during the drive. Luna, she maintained her composure during the entire process, her gaze often searching for Jack's reassuring presence, recalling Dr. Martinez. They were instructed as they got ready to depart. No sudden movements or loud noises. Keep her on the feeding schedule we discussed and call me immediately if you notice any changes in her condition. We will. Lily made a promise, and gratitude filled the air. The drive home was charged with tension. John navigated the road with precision, steering clear of any bumps, while Lily kept a watchful eye on Luna, who rested peacefully in the back seat beside her. Her head rested on Jack's lap as he whispered softly, "Almost home, girl," while gently stroking her hair. Her ears, "You're going to love it there." A crowd of photographers and reporters had assembled near their home, drawn by the news. As Luna was released from the clinic, John drove by without pausing, heading straight into the garage door closed behind them, shielding Luna from the media frenzy as they made their way from the car to the house. Despite having regained some strength, she found it challenging to walk more than a few steps without help. John meticulously lifted her, adhering to Dr. Martinez's guidance on how to support her weight correctly, while Lily cleared the way. As they entered the living room, John carefully set Luna down onto her new bed. She took a moment to survey her surroundings. In the unfamiliar space, her body remained tense until Jack settled beside her. "This is your home now," he said, his small hand reassuringly placed. Resting protectively on her bony shoulder, "You're safe here." As if comprehending his words, Luna eased her. The tail thumped softly against the plush cushion of her bed that night after Jack had finally been persuaded to head to his own bed instead of sleeping beside Luna. Lily and John sat in the kitchen, speaking in hushed tones. "Did you see how?" She settled immediately when Jack addressed her. Lily inquired. "It's as if she comprehends every word he utters, isn't it?" John nodded, still grappling with the challenge of aligning what he was witnessing with his rational, science-oriented perspective. "I know it's quite strange, isn't it? Do you think we ought to have him tested or something?" Lily pondered. "Perhaps there's a scientific reason behind it. In regard to the bond he shares with Luna, what sort of test could possibly be relevant to this scenario?" John challenged. "It's not as if there's a formal guideline for figuring out whether your 5-year-old son shares a psychic connection with a German Shepherd." Lily managed a small smile at that. "When you put it that way, it does sound rather ridiculous. Perhaps we should reach out about that." Dr. Martinez, the researcher, noted that John recommended Dr. Reed, who specializes in the study of human-animal communication. "I believe that's his area of expertise." Her name might have been Lily, but she seemed unsure. "I just don't want Jack to transform into a focal point of research. He's already attracting considerable media attention." Their dialogue was startled by a noise emanating from the living room, a gentle whimper accompanied by fidgeting. They rushed to see what was happening with Luna, finding her trying to rise, her legs quaking with the strain. "Luna, please stay down," Lily implored softly. "You need to." Resting was futile as the dog paid her no mind. She persisted in her efforts, finally rising to her feet, swaying slightly yet resolute. With determination, she took one unsteady step toward the hallway, then another. "What is she doing?" John whispered, careful not to startle the dog. Lily realized that she might be searching for Jack. "Should we intervene, Dr. Martinez?" She mentioned that she shouldn't push herself too hard. Before John had a chance to reply, they heard the sound of small footsteps approaching in the hallway. Jack. He appeared, rubbing his eyes sleepily. "Luna," he called softly, "what are you doing up?" The German Shepherd halted at the sound of his voice, her whole body appearing to ease, yet instead of settling back down, she persisted in her arduous trek toward the boy, each step evidently demanding tremendous exertion, until she ultimately arrived. Her Luna leaned into Jack's chest, a soft whimper slipping from her lips. "It's okay," Jack comforted, wrapping his arms around her neck. "I'm here. You don't have to feel fear," Lily and John observed in wonder as their son directed the dog. Returning to her bed, he spoke to her in soft, comforting tones. Luna followed him without hesitation, finally settling down only when Jack did. He sat beside her, his small hand gently resting on her side. "She had a bad dream, Jack." She explained to her parents about the dark place in the wall, expressing her fear that I might not find her again. John opened. He opened his mouth to ask how Jack could possibly know that, but then closed it again, pondering his son's actions. Insights appeared futile. "Do you want to sleep out here with her tonight?" Lily inquired, understanding that separating the two could prove to be more disruptive than advantageous. Jack nodded appreciatively. "Just for tonight," ensuring she feels accompanied. Lily retrieved a pillow and blanket from Jack's room, assisting him create a cozy nook next to Luna's bed, and soon both the boy and the dog drifted off to sleep, with Luna's breath steady and calm. For what might be the first time since her rescue, as news of Luna's homecoming circulated, Dr. Elena Martinez confronted. As requests for interviews about the case grew, she, who had been initially hesitant to publicly discuss her patients, ultimately consented to a concise statement for the local news, aiming to shift some of the focus away from Jack and towards the wider concern of animal cruelty is highlighted in Luna's remarkable case. She shared with the reporter the extent of the cruelty she experienced, persevered, and her astonishing survival. Yet what stands out to me as a veterinarian is the bond she. In my 3 decades of experience alongside Jack Carter, I have never encountered anything remotely similar. How would you characterize it? In a moment of profound insight, the reporter leaned in, prompting Dr. Martinez to select her words with precision and thoughtfulness. "I would characterize it as a deep connection that goes beyond what we currently comprehend through science, regardless of the terminology used." An extraordinary sensitivity or merely a distinct kind of understanding holds less significance then. The healing effect on Luna is evident. When asked about her prognosis, Dr. Martinez expressed a cautious optimism. She faces a challenging journey ahead, yet her achievements thus far have surpassed all medical expectations. If any dog can fully recover from such trauma, it's Luna. The interview aired that evening, intensifying the public's intrigue with Luna and Jack's narrative on social media. Abuzz with theories and discussions, some lauding the boy's extraordinary talent while others pursued rational explanations. As Luna progressed in her recovery at the Carter home, the bond between her and Jack grew ever stronger. He appeared to foresee her needs even before she expressed them, bringing water just moments before she would have complained for it. It was adjusting her position as pressure sores began to form, aware of precisely when her pain medication was losing its effectiveness. Before Luna herself exhibited signs of unease, Lily remarked, "It's as if they're engaging in conversations beyond our hearing." Observed one evening as Jack sat next to Luna, both appearing at ease in their quiet connection, John nodded, having finally embraced the mysterious bond they share. Whatever it is, it's aiding her healing journey. Dr. Martinez notes that her progress is truly remarkable. Luna was building strength each day within just 2 weeks of. As she returned home, she found herself able to walk short distances unaided. Her coat, once lackluster and worn, started to reclaim its former vibrancy. The sheen returned to her skin, a testament to her gradual recovery from the grips of starvation. Though she remained slender, the most severe signs of her emaciation were beginning to dissipate. With proper nutrition, her health was restored, and throughout it all, Jack stood by her side as her unwavering companion and protector. Ways his parents couldn't entirely grasp her role as a bridge to the human world one night when Luna had been with. After nearly 3 weeks, Jack rapped urgently on his parents' bedroom door. "Luna needs to tell you," he said. "Something," he announced, his expression serious despite the late hour. "It's important." They exchanged confused glances. Lily and John trailed behind their son into the living room, where Luna sat poised beside her bed, her eyes fixed with unwavering attention. As the humans stepped inside, Lily inquired, "What is it, honey?" while suppressing a yawn. "Is Luna okay?" "She's fine," Jack assured them, "but she keeps telling me. Concerning another dog, one that requires assistance just as she once did." John frowned. "Another dog? What do you mean?" "Luna says there's another dog that's trapped," Jack explained, his voice taking on an oddly an adult's rhythm, confined not within a wall, but trapped in a small cage. The dog is unwell and frightened. There are other dogs as well, but this one is facing a dire situation if no one steps in. Lily knelt beside her son, worry etched on her face. Across her face, Jack's honeyed voice asked, "Are you sure this isn't just a dream?" Jack shook his head firmly in place. "It's not a dream. Luna has been trying to convey this to me for days, but I didn't grasp it until now." She mentions the dogs. They find themselves in a building featuring a striking red door, close to the water. The scent of the river fills the air. John and Lily share anxious looks. The unsettling specificity of the details hung in the air. "And Luna told you all this?" John inquired cautiously. "Yes," Jack replied. Responded straightforwardly, "She wants to assist the other dogs because someone supported her when she was trapped." How would you respond if your child said they were receiving messages from an animal? Would you brush it off or explore it further? Their intuition. John ran a hand through his sleep-tousled hair, attempting to grasp what his son was conveying to them. "Jack, even if what you're saying holds some truth, we can't simply start searching random buildings with red doors. That's not the way to approach this. Things work, but the dogs need help," Jack insisted, his small face contorting with concern. With a heavy heart, Luna expresses, "The sick one is a puppy. She's all alone and frightened." Lily knelt beside her son, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Honey, I understand that you think this is true, but we can't involve the authorities based on that." What a dog conveyed to me was that Jack concluded his expression in a disturbingly mature manner, which he didn't trust me about Luna, not until Dad discovered her. The words hit hard, like a physical blow to John and Lily. Shared knowing looks, both recalling how they had brushed off Jack's relentless assertions about a dog in the wall. "That's not fair," John began, but he halted as he noticed Luna stand up. She rose unsteadily to her feet and positioned herself next to the boy, as if to bolster his case. "Perhaps we could." After a moment, Lily proposed a solution. We'll inform Detective Wilson about your feelings, as he's already aware of them. The situation, if he believes it's worth looking into, then that's his choice." Jack pondered this, his gaze falling away. He glanced at Luna, as if gauging her thoughts, and after a brief pause, he nodded with a hint of hesitation. "All right, but we must inform him promptly. The puppy is quite ill." Detective Wilson Credit did not outright reject the information when John reached out to him the following morning after the discovery of Edward Morrison's remains precisely where Jack had pointed out. The detective had cultivated a strong appreciation for the boy's unique perspectives. "Make it clear that I can't initiate a comprehensive inquiry based solely on this," he provided in explanation when he visited the house later that day, "but I can remain vigilant." "Do we have any more specific details?" Information regarding this site, a structure featuring a crimson entrance adjacent to the river, outlined several locations that Jack had visited. With keen attention, Luna, the German shepherd, lay on her bed, her eyes locked onto the human's conversation. For several seconds, the boy and the dog appeared to be engaged in a wordless exchange. "Luna observes," Jack finally announced, "it smells like fish, and like the strong-smelling medicine Dr. Martinez gives her." An observant detective, Wilson surmised while scribbling notes in his compact notebook. "Jack." She nodded and mentioned a sound reminiscent of a large machine that operates intermittently. Perhaps, the detective pondered, this could help narrow it down to the abandoned factories. Along the riverfront, several of them were shut down years ago when the sector collapsed. "Will you look?" Jack asked, his eyes wide and pleading today. Detective Wilson paused, weighing his options. "I'll see what I can do, but I can't make any promises, Jack. I need more to work with than just a vague lead." Jack insisted that Luna understands it's more than just a feeling. She can truly sense the depth of it. The detective's expression softened at the mention of the other dog's pain. "I understand this is important to you," he said. "I'll make some calls. Check for any reports of unusual activity along the riverfront. That's the most I can manage at this moment." After Detective Wilson departed, leaving Jack to retreat to Luna's side, his expression one of concern. Lily discovered them in that state an hour later. Eventually, the boy nestled against the dog's slender frame, both seemingly lost in slumber. As she drew closer, Jack's eyes widened. "The detective isn't going to help, is he?" he asked softly. Lily let out a sigh. Sitting next to her son, "He desires honey, but the authorities require proof before they can proceed. Explore an issue rather than merely searching through structures based on intuition, even if that intuition proves to be accurate." Jack posed a challenge, and in response, Lily softly affirmed that this was indeed the law. "It serves to safeguard individuals' rights." Jack remained silent for a considerable time, his gentle fingers mindlessly caressing Luna's fur. "What if we discovered the location on our own? Then we could inform the authorities precisely where to search." Alarm flickered across Lily's face. "Absolutely not, Jack," she said. "It could be perilous if there are indeed individuals who mistreat dogs. Those are not the kind of people you'd want to encounter. However, the puppies—" "We're going to die," Jack whispered, tears welling in his eyes. "I promised Luna we'd help." Lily pulled her son into a hug, feeling his small body tremble with quiet sobs. "I understand your desire to help. It's a testament to your kind nature. Yet, at times, despite our desire to mend every situation, we must come to terms with our limitations." However, Jack was not prepared to embrace that reality. It was not until he sensed the urgency of Luna's silent plea, the desperate need to save others from suffering, that he truly understood the destiny she had almost faced that night after his parents had retired to their rooms. "Jack." He quietly left his room and returned to Luna's side. The German shepherd was alert, as if she had been anticipating his arrival. "They won't help," Jack whispered, burying his face in Luna's fur. "I tried, but they don't understand." Luna whined, gently brushing against Jack's hand with her nose. It was as if the boy had given his silent agreement to a spoken remark. "Yet I'm uncertain how to locate the place without assistance." For almost an hour, the boy and his dog shared a quiet connection, with Jack occasionally murmuring replies too. Luna's unacknowledged ideas finally earned a nod from him, a look of resolve taking hold. Across his youthful visage, a sense of determination emerged. "All right, we'll give your approach a shot." The following morning, Jack found himself. He was unusually quiet during breakfast. When Lily asked if he was feeling well, he simply nodded, pushing his cereal around. He looked at the bowl with little enthusiasm. "Are you still upset about yesterday?" John asked softly. Jack shrugged. I understand. Why the detective can't assist. It's all right. John and Lily shared astonished looks at their sons, seemingly acknowledging, that's quite mature of you, buddy, John remarked with caution. Luna helped me understand, Jack explained, setting down his spoon. She says, we just have to be patient. Later that morning, when Dr. Martinez arrived for Luna's checkup, she discovered the German Shepherd to be stronger than she had anticipated. Her progress is remarkable, the veterinarian remarked while assessing Luna's healing pressure sores. She is gaining weight at a healthy rate, and her blood work is finally approaching normal ranges. She's been eating well, Lily confirmed, and she's more active every day. Dr. Martinez nodded approvingly. I think we can start. Some gentle physical therapy now, nothing too strenuous, just soft exercises to help rebuild her muscle tone. Jack, would you? I am eager to discover ways to assist with this situation. Jack, who had been notably quiet during the examination, suddenly became more animated. Absolutely, I'm eager to assist Luna in regaining her strength. The veterinarian dedicated the upcoming 30 minutes showcasing straightforward stretches and movements designed to assist Luna in recovering her strength without. As she pushed her still recovering body, Jack observed with unwavering focus, posing insightful inquiries that left even Dr. Martinez impressed. He has quite a talent for this, she remarked to Lily as they observed Jack as he skillfully led Luna through a sequence of movements, a feat that most children his age wouldn't possess the politance or gentleness required for rehabilitation work. He's always been an old soul, Lily replied, observing her son with a blend of pride and lingering worrying. Sometimes I forget he's only 5. After Dr. Martinez departed, promising to return in a few days, Jack continued working with Luna, his earlier melancholy seemingly forgotten in the moment. The thrill of aiding in her recovery. You're making great progress, he cheered as Luna accomplished a straightforward task. Exercise before long. You'll have the strength to run and play just like you used to, Luna's. The tail wagged with excitement at his praise, her dark eyes locked adoringly on the boy's face for the remainder of the day. Jack maintained an extraordinary level of concentration as he assisted Luna with her physical therapy, carefully guiding her through the exercises prescribed by Dr. Martinez. After several lessons, by evening, Luna appeared noticeably fatigued, yet there was a newfound steadiness to her movements that hadn't been there before. Don't overdo it, honey, Lily cautioned as Jack readied himself for yet another session. Dinner. Luna needs to rest too. Just one more time, Jack promised as Luna expressed her thoughts. Feels more resilient already. That evening, after everyone had settled in for the night, a gentle, the scratching sound roused John from a light slumber. Assuming it was Luna needing to go outside, he made his way there, still drowsy, to the living room only to discover it vacant. Luna's bed, typically filled by a recovering German Shepherd, stood vacant, and an alarm shot through John, instantly banishing any remaining drowsiness he felt. Swiftly glanced into Jack's room, anticipating the sight of both child and dog, but the bed lay empty, the covers tossed aside. Lily, John called, panic rising in his throat. Jack's gone and Luna too. In mere minutes, the whole house had been scoured, solidifying their deepest anxieties. Jack and Luna were missing, nowhere to be seen. The back door was slightly ajar, just enough to avoid triggering the alarm system, yet wide enough for a small boy and his dog to slip through unnoticed. This can't be happening, Lily whispered, her face ashen, while John frantically dialed the detective. Wilson's number. Where would they go? Luna can hardly walk for more than a few minutes without becoming fatigued. The unsettling reality struck them at once, as Luna's visible fatigue from the day's therapy became undeniable. The sessions hadn't stemmed from overexertion. Rather, it was a deliberate act, as the dog had been conserving her strength for whatever lay ahead. The scheme she and Jack had devised. That's why he was so understanding when we mentioned we couldn't assist, Sean recognized on the call. Pressed to his ear as he awaited the detective's response, he already had another plan, Detective Wilson. They responded without delay to the call, reaching the house in just 20 minutes. A search team was swiftly assembled with officers, neighbors, and volunteers are meticulously searching the surrounding areas with flashlights. Our attention must be directed towards the. John was adamant about recalling Jack's description of the building with the red door by the riverfront. That was where he would have been. It's gone. We've got officers checking that area now, Detective Wilson assured him. But it's several miles from here. How? How could they have arrived there? Luna isn't strong enough to walk that distance, and Jack wouldn't have been able to catch a bus at this time. The question lingered, elusive yet essential. How far could a 5-year-old boy and a recovering dog go together? In the few hours since the household had drifted into slumber, as the search widened, Lily stayed at the house in case Jack came back, while John became part of one of the search teams making their way to the riverfront industrial area. His thoughts surged with frightening scenarios: Jack engulfed in shadows, Luna succumbing to fatigue, both of them ensnared, exposed to the perils that the night could present, while the searchers remained unaware that Jack and Luna were, in fact, navigating toward the riverfront, but not by foot. Shortly after slipping out of the house, they came across an unforeseen companion, Mrs. Whitaker, their elderly neighbor, coming back from a late-night card game at her sister's residence. "Jack," she exclaimed in astonishment, noticing the small figure with the dog at his side. "What on earth are you doing out at this hour?" Jack asked as he approached her car window, his expression serious. "We need to help some dogs that are in trouble." "There's trouble," he explained. "Can you drive us to the river, please, Mrs. Whitaker?" She ought to have declined. She should have promptly contacted his parents or brought him directly home, yet there was something in the boy's earnest expression and the unique intelligence she'd always perceived in Luna's gaze caused her to pause. Does your mother know where you are?" she asked, already suspecting the answer. Jack shook his head. "They wouldn't understand. It's crucial, Mrs. Whitaker. A puppy's life is at stake if we don't take action." Maybe it was the late hour, or perhaps the residual influence of the 2 glasses of cherry she had consumed, enjoyed at her sister's, yet Mrs. Whitaker found herself making a choice that went against all logic. "Get in," she let out a sigh as she opened the passenger door. "But you'll need to guide me," she said. As they neared the riverfront area, Mrs. Whitaker was starting to feel the weight of her hasty choice. The industrial zone lay empty at this hour, the forsaken surroundings amplifying her unease. Factories loomed like skeletal giants against the night sky. "Are you sure this is where we need to be, dear?" she asked, nervously reducing her speed to a crawl as they glided past shadowy structures. Jack nodded, his gaze fixed intently on Luna, who sat alertly in the back seat, her nose pressed against the window. "Luna says we're getting close. The smell is stronger." Mrs. Whitaker gripped the steering wheel more firmly, contemplating whether she should head back and return the boy home before they realized they were in genuine peril. But just as she contemplated her next move, Luna started to whine with urgency, the whole body trembling with anticipation or dread. "Halt here," Jack shouted. "Luna says, this is it, Mrs. Whitaker said, her gaze fixed intently through the windshield at the building Jack was indicating. "An old fish processing plant, long left to decay, stands silent with its faded signage, boarded windows, and a padlocked entrance. Gate at the entrance to the loading dock, and there, barely discernible in the faint moonlight, stood a door coated in a muted hue, peeling red. Jack, I don't think we Schuldmers," Whitaker began, but the boy he was already scrambling out of the car, with Luna close behind him. "Wait in the car," he called over his shoulder. "We'll be right back." "Jack Carter, you come back here this instant, Mrs. Whitaker shouted, fumbling, with her seatbelt fastened, but the boy and the dog had already vanished into the shadows beside the building, seeking an escape route. With a frustrated huff, the elderly woman reached for her cell phone. Enough was enough. She needed to make the call. As she reached for the phone to call for help, a sudden barking from inside the building halted her fingers above the keypad, leaving her in a moment of uncertainty. Luna's bark was higher pitched and more frantic, immediately met with a chorus of other barks and whines. Inside the abandoned factory, there were indeed dogs lurking in the shadows. Jack and Luna navigated the darkness with caution, their senses heightened as they moved forward. Through the echoes of distressed animals and Luna's unwavering sense of direction, they discovered a shattered window, close to the ground, just wide enough for a small boy and a slender dog to slip through. "This way, Jack." Following Luna's lead, the German shepherd moved with a newfound strength, her earlier weakness now a distant memory. As they hurried towards the heavy door at the end of the long corridor, the barking intensified, echoing their sense of urgency. Light spilled from beneath it, the first indication that the seemingly abandoned building wasn't as deserted as it appeared. As they approached the door, Luna let out a low growl, her hackles rising. "Shh," Jack whispered, attempting to soothe her with a calming presence. With a gentle hand on her back, he whispered, We need to stay quiet, the bad people might hear us. He pressed his ear against the door, listening intently. The sounds of whimpering and occasional barks filled the air. It was now evident, accompanied by a mechanical humming that could only belong to the generator Detective Wilson possessed. With a sense of anticipation, Jack took a deep breath and turned the handle. To his surprise, the door opened effortlessly, unveiling a captivating scene that would linger in his mind for years to come. The expansive room had once served as a part of the fish processing operation, complete with drainage. Channels remained evident in the concrete floor, now replaced by rows of metal cages, each holding at least one dog. Some were large breeds, others small, yet all exhibited signs of neglect or injury. In the center of the room, several tables were arranged, laden with medical equipment, the kind used for healing by Dr. Martinez, but rather something else entirely. Instruments designed for experimental methods. It was a dog-fighting operation intertwined with unlawful activities. In the breeding and training facility, Luna let out a low growl, her gaze intensifying as it locked onto a small cage tucked away in the corner, where a small puppy lay still, its chest gently rising and falling. "That's her," Jack whispered. The sick one you mentioned began to move toward the cage, but Luna abruptly tensed, her ears perking up a moment later. Jack heard it as well, footsteps approaching from an adjoining room. Before they could retreat, the door on the opposite side creaked open. The door swung open, and a burly man stepped inside, halting abruptly at the sight of a small boy and a German shepherd standing in the midst of the room. His illicit operation was met with a growl of disbelief. "What the hell?" he exclaimed, reaching behind his back, likely for a weapon. Luna responded swiftly. Without hesitation, she positioned herself between Jack and the danger, her teeth exposed in a fierce snarl that contradicted her ongoing recovery. The man hesitated, clearly unprepared to confront a fierce dog that. A moment of hesitation proved crucial as a police siren wailed from somewhere outside, accompanied by the sound of vehicles. With a sudden stop, a commanding voice rang out, "Police, open up." The sound of heavy fists striking the building's main entrance echoed through the air. The man swore, his eyes flickering between Jack, the door, and the caged dogs. Before he could determine a course of action, evidence of his criminal enterprise emerged, and Luna lunged forward, her weakened state evident. Lost in the whirlwind of instinct, her teeth sank into the man's arm, propelling him away. With a resounding thud, the figure collapsed to the floor, a howl of pain echoing through the air. Moments later, the room was swarmed by police officers, Detective Wilson leading the charge. Lee's eyes widened at the sight of Jack standing amid the cages, with Luna still growling over the prone form of the Jack, he exclaimed, holstering his weapon as he rushed forward. "Are you all right?" Nodded, seemingly unfazed by the chaos around him. "I told you the dogs needed help," he said simply, "especially her." Indicated the cage holding the still puppy as other officers apprehended the suspect and commenced. Recording the scene, Detective Wilson crouched next to the puppy's cage, his demeanor serious as he evaluated its condition. "This one requires urgent veterinary attention," he stated while gently opening the cage and lifting the small. "All of them do, but this one might not survive without treatment. Call Dr. Martinez," Jack suggested, his voice steady. Beside him, "She help." Outside, additional police cars had arrived, accompanied by animal control vehicles that had been called in. Transport the rescued dogs. Mrs. Whitaker, who had made the initial 911 call that summoned the authorities to the location, providing her account to an officer, reflecting on her previous doubts about her own judgment, was filled with a sense of righteous indignation at the revelation. "If it weren't for that boy and his dog," she stated resolutely, "these unfortunate beings would have kept enduring. Someone ought to award him a medal." John, who had. "I was part of the search team that gathered at the location following Mrs. Whitaker's call, but my enthusiasm was lacking." His relief at finding Jack safe was mixed with frustration over his son's reckless behavior. "Do you have any idea how dangerous was that?" he demanded, pulling Jack into a fierce hug. "You could have been hurt or worse." But, Jack explained, Luna knew what to do, as if that alone made everything clear, and the puppy would have perished had we delayed. John fought to keep his serious demeanor despite his son's an unwavering belief that still doesn't justify slipping away in the dead of night. "You ought to have informed us about Mrs. Whitaker. We could have reached out to Detective Wilson together." "You didn't believe me," Jack reminded him softly. "Not until it was too late." It was nearly too late for Luna. "I couldn't allow that to occur once more," the stark reality. Upon hearing the statement, John found himself momentarily at a loss for words. By dawn, the full scope of the operation had been revealed. 23 dogs. In total, many had been rescued, each bearing scars from battles fought or from breeding in inhumane conditions, including the puppy Jack had. Specifically noted that a small pit bull mix was critically ill, suffering from parvovirus and severe malnutrition. Dr. Martinez, awakened from slumber by Detective Wilson's pressing call, had come to offer emergency assistance until the animals could be transported to appropriate facilities. Her face, usually composed and professional, displayed shock. As she surveyed the situation, she remarked, "This is among the most egregious instances of systematic animal cruelty I have encountered." Journalists, who had assembled at the location, informed by police scanners, would not have arrived without the lead that directed law enforcement to this spot. Many of the creatures would not have endured another week. The indication, of course, had emerged from Luna, a reality that was swiftly becoming apparent. It's undeniable how Jack could have been aware not just of the illegal operation, but also of the exact location and the gravely unwell puppy. As the day unfolded and the saved dogs were taken to different shelters and veterinary facilities, Luna remained near Jack, appearing quite fatigued at this moment. The mission was accomplished, and the surge of energy that had propelled her through the night's happenings had diminished, leaving her once again relying on the boys' support. "We should get her home," Lily suggested softly, having arrived at the scene shortly after receiving word that Jack was safe. "She's pushed herself too hard tonight." Jack nodded in agreement. Adrenaline waning as the thrill subsided, "She did it to save the others," he remarked. He spoke, his voice thick with exhaustion. She understood the feeling of being confined and fearful. As they got ready to depart, Detective Wilson approached, his expression thoughtful. "Jack, I owe you an." He crouched down to the boy's level and said, "I should have taken your concern seriously." With a more serious demeanor, Jack shrugged, accepting the apology without further remark. "What I still," the detective continued cautiously, expressing confusion about how you were aware not only of the dogs, yet the precise location was something even Luna couldn't have known without prior experience. Jack cast a glance down at Luna, who looked back at him with those perceptive eyes that appeared to conceal mysteries beyond human comprehension. She was unaware of the building, but as Jack explained, she began to recognize the familiar smells and sounds, and she could sense the presence of others around her. The suffering of a dog, particularly the puppies, made him pause before he continued. "It's akin to what occurred when she was confined within the wall. At times, the pain is so intense that it can extend to others who have experienced similar feelings." Detective Wilson nodded slowly, not entirely grasping the situation, but acknowledging that certain enigmas eluded traditional understanding. "Well, whatever the explanation, you've accomplished something truly remarkable tonight," he said, rising to his feet. "Those dogs owe you and Luna their lives." The news of the raid circulated swiftly, with headlines announcing "Boy and Miracle Dog Guide Police to Unlawful." In the arena of struggle, the animal communicator works his magic once more, as a child's extraordinary connection brings salvation. Live videos of the rescue operation featuring Jack and Luna amidst the chaos quickly gained viral attention within hours. Dr. Elena Vasquez, dedicated to ensuring the rescued puppy's well-being, she soon found herself overwhelmed with interview requests from the media outlets enthusiastic to delve into the scientific potential surrounding Jack and Luna's bond. "I'm a veterinarian, nada. What truly matters," she told one persistent reporter, "is that these animals have been saved from the appalling circumstances. How Jack became aware of them is less important than the reality that he acted on that knowledge." Yet in the depths of his mind, Dr. Martinez grew more and more convinced that something truly extraordinary was unfolding. Create something that could transform our comprehension of the connection between humans and animals, if only research could discover a method to articulate it. As Jack and Luna appeared indifferent to the escalating feelings their actions were generating. Back at home, both the boy and the dog slept soundly, recovering from their night of adventure. Luna curled up beside them, enveloping Jack on his bed, her body creating a barrier between him and the outside world in slumber. Their bond remained unbroken, a quiet connection of spirits that surpassed both species and reason, pointing toward mysteries that science has only just begun to explore. What do you believe strengthens the connection between children and Animals are so special. Is there something they grasp that adults have forgotten in the days after the raid? During the dog fighting operation, Jack emerged as a local figure of interest, with news vans stationed outside the Carter residence. Journalists eager for conversations with the boy who appeared to converse with dogs found social media abuzz with speculation concerning his talents that span from scientific theories on enhanced empathy to assertions of extraordinary abilities. Throughout it all, Jack stayed notably the same reserved 5-year-old whose main focus was Luna's welfare and the recovery of the rescued dogs, particularly the ailing puppy he had risked so much to save. "Any news about her?" he inquired Dr. Martinez during Luna's checkup 3 days post-raid, as the veterinarian had assumed personal responsibility for a critically ill pit bull mix, affectionately named Hope by the shelter staff, is still in the battle for her life, Dr. Martinez responded. Feeling a sense of cautious optimism, the 4 fluids and antibiotics seem to be making a difference, but she's not out of danger yet. "Can I see her?" Jack asked immediately. Dr. Martinez. She glanced at Lily, who nodded her permission. "I don't see why not. Maybe it would even help her. Heaven knows the presence has truly transformed Luna. Her recovery has progressed astonishingly since the night of the raid. Instead of hindering her as Dr. Martinez had first worried, the adventure appeared to have ignited a spark within her. There's something about the German Shepherd that brings forth a revitalized sense of purpose, evident in a heightened appetite and a surge of energy. Her determination to regain strength is palpable. It's as if saving those other dogs healed something inside her, Dr. Martinez remarked as she finished Luna's examination. She's not just changed physically. Emotionally, she's a different dog than she was a week ago. Luna wagged her tail at the praise, her eyes bright and alert, body lean but no longer emaciated. Later that afternoon, Lily drove Jack, the pressure sores had healed, and her coat was regaining its healthy shine, to the veterinary clinic where Hope was battling for her life. The small puppy rested in an oxygen-enriched enclosure, surrounded by multiple, with tubes and monitors connected to her delicate form. She seemed to be in a peaceful slumber, her breath soft yet consistent. She appeared so tiny, Jack whispered, pressing his hand against the clear wall of the enclosure. "She is small," Dr. Martinez remarked. "It's been confirmed, and she has endured so much. The virus has caused significant damage to her intestines, and she was already in a state of severe malnutrition. We are doing everything possible," yet there was no need for her to complete the sentence. It was clear to everyone that Hope's chances were minimal. "May I speak with her?" Jack inquired. "Is it similar to my conversation with Luna?" Dr. Martinez paused, then nodded. "I don't see how it could hurt. I'll adjust the enclosure so you can reach in and touch her, but be very careful. Proceed with care and ensure that none of the tubes are disturbed after the adjustments have been completed." Jack gently reached into the enclosure, his small fingers softly grazing Hope's uneven fur. The puppy's eyes stayed shut, yet Jack bent down near the opening, murmuring words so gentle that they were inaudible to anyone else. Lily and Dr. Martinez observed quietly, each hesitant to disrupt the unspoken exchange unfolding before them. After several minutes, Jack withdrew his hand and straightened up, his expression solemn. "She's really. I'm tired," he reported. "But she says, thank you for saving her." Dr. Martinez blinked, taken aback by the blunt inquiry. "Did she tell you anything else, Jack?" She nodded and recounted how there was a little girl who occasionally ventured into the bad place, bringing water for the dogs. When no one was watching, Hope found herself drawn to the girl. She was kind. The veterinarian and Lily exchanged surprised glances at this revelation. There was new information. Nothing in the police reports had indicated that a child was involved in the fighting operation. "A little girl?" Lily asked cautiously. "Did Hope tell you what she looked like?" Jack's brow furrowed in concentration. "She had dark hair styled in braids, and she wore a pink coat with a tear in the sleeve." "Hope," the girl cried when they hurt the dogs. Dr. Martinez reached for her phone. "I should contact Detective Wilson if there's a child involved in that operation. He must be informed." While the veterinarian completed her task, Lily knelt beside Jack, her expression filled with concern. "Honey, these things. Do you have knowledge of Luna, of Hope, of the girl? How do you know them? Can you share?" He pondered the question with a thoughtful expression, as if reflecting on a deeper meaning. "It's akin to the way I perceive things. In those moments, I sense their emotions deeply, and occasionally, Vivid images flash through my mind, resembling memories, though they don't belong to me. Memories began to unfold as Lily prompted gently. Jack shook his head, a quiet refusal. I could always manage it just a bit more. It was a bit, but mostly it revolved around emotions, like sensing your sadness even behind a smile or understanding. Grandma was hurt before, but when she called with Luna, it felt different. It was clearer, as if she knew exactly how to help me understand what was going on. The creatures expressed that the straightforwardness of the explanation was, in some way, more disconcerting than any intricate detail. The rationale would have been that Jack wasn't fabricating intricate daydreams. He was recounting his experience as, like any other child might recount the experience of learning to ride a bike. Before Lily had the chance to inquire further, Dr. Martinez's expression returned with a hint of concern as Detective Wilson showed a keen interest in this information regarding a girl, it seems, was referenced during the interrogation when one of the apprehended men spoke of his employer's daughter, although he asserted she was. Lily stated that Jack's information indicates otherwise regarding the facility. Martinez nodded. The detective is sending someone over to take a formal statement. If what Hope told Jack is accurate, it could be pivotal to the case. The detective who arrived 30 minutes later was not Wilson himself, but rather a woman named Detective Sarah Chen, known for her expertise in cases involving children, employed a gentle yet direct approach during her interviews. Jack recounted what Hope had shared with him, explaining that this girl would occasionally visit the building. As Detective Chen clarified, she meticulously took notes, ensuring every detail was captured, while discreetly providing water to the dogs whenever the men were distracted. Jack nodded, recognizing her desire to assist. She was frightened of her father. Hope mentioned that he struck the girl once when she attempted to let one of the dogs outside. According to the detective, Chen's pen hesitated for a moment. Her dad, the girl's father, was entangled in the dog fighting. Sanahi was the one in charge, Jack confirmed. With an air of nonchalant assurance, he declared that the other men had no choice but to comply with his demands, or they would face his wrath. This information corroborated the police's growing suspicion that the operation was orchestrated by a man named Victor. Reyes, who had thus far managed to evade capture, posed a complex dilemma. If the girl was indeed Reyes' daughter, she could be both a victim and an essential witness. Did Hope share the girl's name with you? Detective Chen asked Jack, who shook his head. The men called her kid or brat, but Sophie informed the dogs of her name, while the detective made a final note before closing her notebook. Thank you, Jack. This is quite intriguing. She sought out Mrs. Carter for some guidance, saying, Lily, we would like to have a child. Is it okay for the psychologist to speak with Jack? It's standard procedure in situations like this. But what exactly do you mean by situations like what? Lily infused a protective tone into her voice as Detective Chen selected his words with precision, discussing instances involving a child witness. Offers insights that are inaccessible through traditional methods. Our goal is to guarantee a comprehensive understanding. In the context of Jack's insights, there were unspoken elements that Lily grasped intuitively. The police aimed to eliminate the chance that Jack had in any way been connected to or affected by the dog. The notion of a fighting operation before the raid was, naturally, preposterous. Yet, the procedure was acceptable. Lily agreed, albeit with some reluctance, but I will be there to oversee it. Detective Chen assured her that they would arrange the interviews for tomorrow, if that works for her. After the detective, having left, asked Jack if he could spend a few more minutes with Hope before they headed home. The puppy seemed slightly more alert now, her eyes occasionally fluttering open to glance at the boy who sat beside her enclosure. She's fighting. It's tougher now, Jack said to Dr. Martinez with assurance. She's eager to meet the other dogs once she's feeling better, especially Luna, the veterinarian said with a warm smile, clearly moved by his optimism. We'll make sure she gets that chance. The following day's interview with child psychologist Dr. Rebecca Winters proved to be more successful than Lily anticipated. Had dreaded that the woman was gentle and non-confrontational, presenting her inquiries as a dialogue instead of an interrogation. So when you're with Luna or the other dogs, it's as if you can grasp their emotions. Dr. Winters inquired after building a connection with Jack, who nodded, not merely sensing. Considering how dogs perceive the world, it's clear they think in a manner distinct from humans, often relying more on images and sense. Luna aids my understanding, and she is truly unique compared to other dogs you've encountered. Luna comprehends things on a deeper level. Jack conveyed that she understands how to arrange the pictures in a way that makes sense to me, and her memory is more vivid than other dogs, Doctor. Winters made a note, her expression thoughtful. Have you ever met Sophie, the little girl from the building? Jack shook his head firmly. No, I only know what Hope told me about her. You are completely sure that you have never set foot in that building prior to the night of the raid and have never encountered any of those dogs before? Just in the images Luna presented to me, Jack maintained after almost an hour of soft probing. Doctor. Winter appeared. Satisfied, she engaged in a brief private conversation with Lily, her evaluation surprisingly open-minded. Jack is an extraordinarily empathetic child, she concluded. Whether his abilities extend to genuine communication with animals as he is beyond my understanding or representation of an exceptionally advanced intuition. The ability to discern what is evident reveals that he truly thinks he is getting messages from the dogs, and that information has shown to be accurate in ways that are not easily explained. So, you don't think he's fabricating it? Lily inquired, her relief evident. Doctor. Winters shook her head. Not at all. Jack's descriptions are far too consistent and detailed to be fabricated, especially considering his age. Whatever is occurring, it is genuine for him. Considering the confirmed results of Luna guiding the police to the fighting ring, I would approach the details regarding Sophie with caution. With Jack's insights about Sophie, the police ramped up their efforts to locate Victor, leaving no stone unturned. 3 days later, Detective Wilson called Rays with news that a school in a neighboring county had located a student fitting the description of 8-year-old Sophie Rays, who had not attended school since the "We've issued an Amber Alert." He informed John and Lily that if Rays is on the run with his daughter, we need to act swiftly. We need to locate them swiftly, considering what we've discovered about him. Sophie might be at risk, especially with Jack eavesdropping on the discussion. Quickly looked for Luna, the German shepherd, who had been napping in her preferred spot by the window but became attentive at Jack's approach. Luna, he whispered urgently, the police can't find Sophie. The bad man took her away. Can you help? That night, Jack experienced the first of what would evolve into a sequence of striking dreams. Within them, he perceived the world through Sophie's eyes. A terrified child was taken from one location to another by a man growing more frantic. She felt hunger and fear, struggling to find rest in motel rooms as her father engaged in heated phone conversations, whispering when Jack confided in his parents about the dreams. The following morning, they found themselves uncertain about how to react to the delicate balance between his remarkable intuition and the mundane. The vividness of childhood imagination had faded. Did you notice anything that could assist the police in their search? John inquired with a hint of hesitation, not eager to fuel what could be mere imagination yet reluctant to disregard it entirely. Completely. After all that had transpired, there was a signal, Jack remarked, his expression twisted in deep thought. Blue with white letters, it read, "Welcome to Pine Grove." John made the contacting the dust detective. Wilson felt a twinge of embarrassment as he conveyed the details of his unexpected findings. The detective approached the matter with utmost seriousness. Pingrove lies approximately 2 hours north of this location. Wilson verified that it is a small town, easily overlooked. I will notify the local authorities to keep an eye out for Rays and his daughter. Later that day, Hope took an unexpected turn for the better. Her fever broke, and she began accepting small amounts of food on her own, a progress that Dr. Martinez noted. Characterized as cautiously optimistic, the veterinarian cautioned during Jack's visit, "She's not out of the woods yet, but she's displaying a resilience I didn't anticipate. She wishes to meet Sophie," Jack clarified, gently caressing the puppy's head poked through the opening in her enclosure. "Hope," Sophie said, "promised to take care of her if she ever got free from the bad place." Dr. Martinez's expression softened. "Well, she's certainly free now, thanks to you and Luna." In the meantime, Luna's recovery had advanced to the stage where Dr. Martinez announced that she was prepared for brief strolls outdoors for the first time as Jack fastened a leash to her collar and guided her down the driveway, passing by the sparse. The sight of the remaining news vans brought a moment of quiet triumph for both of them, as if they had achieved something significant together. "I told you you'd improve," Jack said with pride as Luna trotted alongside him, her gait steady yet still a bit tentative. Luna's response was a soft brush of her head against his side, a form of communication that required no words. The brief strolls quickly evolved into a daily habit, steadily lengthening, As Luna regained her strength throughout these, Jack persisted in having what he referred to as dialogues with Luna during their outings. Conversations that appear to encompass more than merely a boy conversing with his dog. Luna suggests hope grows stronger with each passing day he shared with his parents following one of those walks, and she mentions that the police are becoming more involved. As the search for Sophie intensified, Detective Wilson reached out the next morning with promising news. Victor Reyes had been located. Observed in Pine Grove trying to withdraw cash from an ATM, local authorities were carrying out a search of all motels. If we discover rental properties in the area, it will be primarily due to Jack's efforts, the detective confessed. I don't feign comprehension of his insights, yet I've come to realize the importance of not overlooking them that evening as Jack and Luna. Upon returning from their walk, a police car came to a stop in front of the house as Detective Wilson emerged, accompanied by others, by a female officer, and to everyone's astonishment, a small girl with dark braids, clad in a pink coat featuring a torn sleeve. Sophie, Jack exclaimed, recognizing her. Immediately, although she had never encountered him prior, the girl regarded him with curiosity, then shifted her gaze to Luna, her eyes growing wide in. You found the shepherd, she said softly, from the bad place. Detective Wilson detailed how Reyes was caught attempting to cross the Canadian border with Sophie in the vehicle. The girl was briefly in police custody as arrangements were being coordinated with child services and her mother, who resided in a different state, and she inquired about the dogs. Wilson mentioned specifically that I was curious to find out if the puppy, a pit bull mix that she had been trying to assist, had made it through. Sophie approached Luna cautiously, thinking that perhaps seeing her and meeting Jack could help her feel more secure. With her hand extended palm down, she approached the unfamiliar dog. Luna sniffed her fingers and then gently licked them. Look at her tail wagging in recognition. She remembers you, Jack said. She says, thank you for the water you gave her. Sophie's eyes widened. You can talk to dogs. Jack shrugged. Kind of, mostly I comprehend their emotions, and at times, they present me with vivid images in my mind. The clarity of the description appeared to please Sophie, who took it on with the kind of unwavering faith that children frequently exhibit towards the Is Hope all right? She inquired with a hint of worrying, the little puppy she was. It was truly upsetting when my dad forced us to leave. She's on the mend, Jack, she assured her. Dr. Martinez is taking excellent care of her. Would you like to see her? Following a brief conversation with the arrangements were put in place for Sophie to meet with Hope prior to her departure with the social worker who was on standby, taking her to a temporary foster home at the clinic. The reunion between the girl and the puppy brought tears to everyone's eyes. Eyes filled with hope, the one who had been steadily improving became animated at the sight of Sophie, her tiny tail wagging furiously. As she fought to approach the glass barrier of her confinement, Jack affirmed, she knows you, while observing the scene. With a warm smile, she expressed her genuine happiness for your well-being. Sophie gently wiped the tears from her cheeks, revealing her desire to assist in any way possible. Dogs, but my father would become so furious that I feared the consequences of sharing it with anyone. Dr. Martinez knelt beside the girl. Your assistance was invaluable, Sophie. Without the water you provided, many may not have made it until they were rescued, and now, thanks to Jack and Luna, they're all safe. What will happen to them? Sophie asked, her hand pressed against the glass, mirroring Hope's paw on the other side. They'll find good homes, Dr. Martinez promised, homes where they'll be cherished and nurtured properly. Sophie's gaze fell. I wish I could hold on to hope. I assured her that I would. Dr. Martinez exchanged glances with Detective Wilson and the social worker who had. They accompanied them well, which might be possible eventually, but for now, both you and Hope deserve some time to heal. Perhaps once you're settled with your mom and Hope has fully recovered, we can have a conversation about it again. The suggestion illuminated Sophie's face. Really? Do you believe my mom might allow me to have her? We'll certainly try to arrange it, the social worker assured her, based on what your mom has expressed deep regret about the situation and is eager to rectify things for you. As they got ready to, Sophie turned to Jack, her curiosity piqued. How did you know where to find the dogs? And how did you know about me? Jack cast a quick look at Luna, who sat patiently beside him, then back to Sophie. Luna told me, and then Hope shared about you. Sophie accepted this. She expressed her gratitude without hesitation, simply embracing Jack first. In the months that followed, Luna expressed her gratitude to both of you with great care. Recovery continued to astonish Dr. Martinez and all those who had participated in her rescue. By the 6-month milestone, she regained her full weight and strength, with only a few small scars left as reminders of her ordeal. Hope, too, blossomed anew. After weeks of intensive care, her remarkable recovery transformed her into a playful, healthy puppy, just as they had promised. Officials collaborated with Sophie's mother to facilitate Hope's integration into their home once Sophie was established. The gathering filled with happiness for all those connected to the case of the other dogs saved from the fighting operation. Discovered families with thoroughly screened adoptive parents, many of whom had been following the narrative in the media and specifically requested to provide a permanent home for one of the survivors. As for Jack and Luna, their connection only grew stronger, with Luna seldom strayed from the boy's side, accompanying him to school where she received special permission to be there as a form of support. Jack took his dog to the park and even to the hospital visits, where he began cheering up sick children. Word of Jack's special efforts spread quickly. His bond with animals grew, resulting in occasional requests for assistance with especially traumatized rescue dogs or scenarios in which grasping an animal's behavior could avert euthanasia, approached with his parents' careful consideration. Jack selectively consented to these requests, with Luna consistently by his side as his interpreter and guardian. Marcus Reed, the researcher Dr. Martinez had mentioned months earlier, eventually arrived to observe Jack and Luna. Scientific curiosity towards what many had deemed impossible. What we're observing here could be the first. He explained that this is a documented case of interspecies communication that transcends basic training or conditioning. To John and Lily, after several observation sessions, Jack seems to possess knowledge that it's beyond the grasp of ordinary understanding. But how is that even possible? John inquired, continuing his quest for reason. An understanding that had escaped them since Jack first heard Luna's cries through the wall. Dr. Reed smiled. That's the question remains unanswered by science, yet perhaps Jack possesses his own unique insight when inquired about his thoughts. Jack's explanation was clear and steady, while Luna guided me in understanding how to listen not only with my ears but with my heart. Everyone has the ability to do it, it's just that most people tend to forget how. On the anniversary of Luna's rescue, the Carter family hosted a quaint celebration in their backyard, with Dr. Martinez in attendance, along with others. Detective Wilson and Sophie are accompanied by Hope, now a vibrant and playful young dog in the neighborhood. The coverage of the event highlighted the remarkable transformation of the previously skeletal German Shepherd into a vibrant being. A loyal dog who always stayed close to Jack. It has certainly been an eventful year, Lily remarked, observing Jack and Sophie. Several neighborhood children played with Luna and Hope on the lawn. Sometimes, I still find it hard to believe everything that's happened. What transpired is hard to believe, Dr. Martinez remarked with a smile. I've witnessed much throughout my career, but nothing compares to the connection between Jack and Luna. Rescued one another in ways that we are just starting to understand. As the sun dipped below the horizon and guests began to leave, Jack found himself seated on the porch steps, Luna nestled beside him, with his head resting peacefully on his lap, bathed in the gentle light of twilight. A boy and his dog share a serene moment, set in a cozy stillness, where no words were necessary for the seamless connection that passed between them. You found me. You know, Jack whispered, gently stroking Luna's ears. We saved each other. Luna's tail thumped against the wooden step, her dark eyes locked onto the boy's face, radiating a depth of intelligence and understanding that surpassed the boundaries of species. In that serene instant, the wonder of their connection was as evident and irrefutable as the love that united them. A reminder that sometimes the most profound truths are the ones we feel rather than explain. Has an animal ever rescued you in a surprising manner? Please share your tale in the comments. And if this a story of a miracle that resonates deeply, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring real-life tales that uplift and remind us all the remarkable connections that exist between people and animals.